What is up? We're back with the Artist Way, week 10. I know it's been a minute. It's fine though. We're here. Julia Cameron, she was talking about all kind of things in chapter 10, really. The first thing that she was talking about was workaholism and how it's really a form of self-sabotage for us as creatives to just be, working and working and working and working and working. Because really our work is supposed to come from something, and we only have stuff to pull from if we're out living. That's where we're getting all these things. That's where we're experiencing all these things, feeling these things, thinking these things for us to put into our work. So if we're just always on go and we're always working, nonstop, not taking care of ourselves, not trying new things, not going outside, then we won't have, what's sufficient for us to do our best work. Workaholism. I know I've, in my personal life, have to try to balance that out. Especially, it is hard when you have like a job that's making you money for the time being while you're in pursuit of your creative efforts. But it's just all about balance, really. Like, we should be intentional with our time, where we're not working and not even thinking about work, and we're just catching a vibe just to catch a vibe. You and me both, we need to lock in. We need to do better with that. Make some time, take ourselves out, whether it's solo or with, a good crowd of people, some good family, some good friends. We should be charging that battery and stuff, so that when we come back, when it's time to work, then we could really, lock in. The saw is sharp. You feel me? Workaholism. Next, she was talking about drought, periods of droughts when we're, in our flow, we're plugging and chugging as creatives, and then it seems like just the vibe is off, and we can't really pinpoint what it is, and we'll try to be in our heads like, oh shit, maybe I'm just not good, maybe da-da-da-da-da, this, that, and a third. None of that's true. She was talking about how these periods of drought, they're normal and they're expected, and we should expect them while we're working. And because they're expected, we know that it doesn't define us. We know it doesn't define our work. We know it doesn't define what we're capable of, and that we should really try to work through it. Because, right, if you keep that muscle going, keep the habit going, eventually it'll pass. Just like all bad things in life, it'll pass, and then we'll be right back flowing and going with our good shit, and we're still in the habit. So we're not missing out on, oh, I'm gonna start this later, da-da-da-da-da. No, we kept the habit going even through the period of drought, so it's there, and we caught it. We managed to catch it and put it into what we're making and whatnot. So that's what she was talking about with drought. The next thing she was talking about was just the disease of fame, and what that does to a creative, what that does to just our approach and our output. She was talking about how, obviously, we're creatives and we're sharing these bodies of work that we're working on. So people are gonna obviously see them, and they're gonna have thoughts on them, and they're gonna share them. So a little notoriety, even if it's at the local level, it's expected. It's unavoidable. But where the really cancerous part comes in is when that's what we're aiming for. Okay, we're creatives. We shouldn't be aiming to be seen by this many people, and our stuff should have this number of metrics and whatnot, and all these irrelevant things that don't really say anything about the work, because we all know we have our own artists that we love and admire, that we feel like deserve more recognition and whatnot, and they're probably still trying to eat, just like us. So we cannot let fame be the focus. We have to let it be the work. We have to. That's like the only remedy. Even when that time does come and we do have, a certain level of notoriety, which wasn't previously there, we have to, always return back to the work. That's what we care about. That's what, excites us. That's what helps us with whatever, we're creative. That's what we do. Okay. And in that, people also try to compete and stuff, and they're comparing, so-and-so's numbers with so-and-so's numbers and this, that, and the third. When, again, similar thing as, what I was just mentioning, that stuff doesn't matter. And it's really like a cancerous thought to have to ourselves, as well as just when taking in others' work, comparing numbers and stuff. When that doesn't matter, it's really just, the work. This is one piece of work. This is one piece of work. How are they similar? How are they different? That's really it. The numbers don't really tell you anything about the work, especially just knowing how much of that is uncontrollable and not in our hands. It's not really fair to say, to let numbers dictate how good someone's work is, especially our own work, as creatives. That's really all she had to say about that. Final thing she was talking about was, just like original work and how, obviously we're pulling from, all kind of things, what stuff from our personal lives and other creative people that, we admire and whatnot. And how basically when we're starting something, we can't kill it off too soon. We shouldn't write it off too soon, because like it just hasn't had time to grow yet. And obviously, it was an idea, and it could feel uncomfortable at first to want to dwell into that and explore and expand on that. And you're trying to write it off because of whatever external metric that doesn't really matter. But for any ideas, because we're full of them, we're creative people, we should, honor these ideas, respect these ideas, to at the very least, see it out, even if no one else sees it, just to keep that muscle going, just to keep, the creative thoughts flowing and going. Just know we tried it. We don't want to write something off. And then you never know how people could receive it. That could be what's going to change your whole life, what's going to just do you the most good, but you're writing it off because of, just something dumb, just some overthinking that doesn't really matter. Excuse me. Yeah, that's pretty much it that Julia Cameron was talking about in week 10 of The Artist's Way. If I'm not mistaken, we only have like a couple more chapters left. So I'm kind of excited. I know it's been a while since I made one of these. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing well. It's a new year. We're plugging and chugging. I'm dropping stuff like crazy. You guys are emailing me like crazy. I love to see it. Yeah, let's sound this together. We all in this bit. Feel free to email me. I always have my email in the description of the videos. Usually I have them in my bio on my little YouTube page. Reach out. I'm always willing to talk about stuff, especially creative stuff. So yes, hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys later for week 11 of The Artist's Way. And yes, goodbye.